time has come to take out these tomato plants. There's only one fruit left on this one, a few, about 4-ish on this Big Daddy, and all the ones that are on the Granny Cantrell, I could probably go ahead and pick green and they can just ripen in the house. This one's already starting to blush. So I've got 3 heirlooms, 1 hybrid, and they all look really rough right now. It is September the 8th, except I do think the hybrid here looks slightly better, especially at the upper growth. So this is Big Daddy. He is mostly green up top. He is missing a lot of leaves from the hornworms. Granny Cantrell looks kind of rough, and then the other 2 hybrids. I've got pineapple here, and this is Whitmore, which seems to have been pretty sensitive the whole season for me. But it's a really good tomato, so I will probably still grow it despite it being very finicky. Similar to how people like to grow brandywines. They're known for being very difficult as far as disease resistance or lack thereof. Yeah, so we're going to take these guys down. And then, guess what's going in these pots? My friend Ivy was able to purchase me as a gift some Brussels sprouts because I did not get mine started this year in time. These are called Jade Cross. It is a hybrid F1, I believe, and they are supposed to be pretty compact. So I'm just going to put 1 into each pot. I was tempted to do 2 in each pot, but if you've ever grown a Brussels sprout, they get really big. If you prune them, you can control the girth, but they should get, I've had them get 4 to 5 feet tall. I've only been successful 1 season, and they did get 4 to 5 feet tall that time. All right, so let's get busy taking down 2024 tomatoes on my deck. Guys, it's 5 days later since I recorded that. I can't believe I have been just procrastinating. We're ripping the Band-Aid off. We're taking all these tomato plants down. We're taking all the tomato plants in my raised bed area down, and we're going to put those Brussels sprouts in. We're going to get them fertilized. We're going to get them tucked in, ready to go for a nice winter harvest. And those poor little Brussels sprouts that have been at my house for 5 days, every day I've been having to water them. They're drying out so quickly. They desperately need to get into a container, and that's what we're going to do. We are going to get every one of these planted, and we're going to do a quick swap out. We're just going to take the plants down. First, we're going to harvest any fruit that we can. I picked a couple off on this one this past week. There's a couple more I can pick. This is the only one that's given me pause because he actually wants to keep growing. And I may just leave him and then find another pot to put over here. Because we're going to have 4 Brussels here, and we're going to have 4 Brussels in the raised bed area. This one can absolutely come out. This one can absolutely come out. Now, before I take Whitmore completely out, I want you to look at something. I usually do this once a year at the end of the season when I'm taking out my tomato plants. So remember when I first planted this guy? I'd say about 2-3 weeks later, I was trying to do my little squat where I make my plants bend a little when they're still very flexible so that I can fit them into their container, let them grow, but not get too big. Well, he wasn't flexible enough, and I broke him. So I'm going to remove the tape so you guys, and myself as well, can see what a healed break looks like. I guess about, I don't know, what's it been, 2.5, 3 months ago, and how this break, taped together with just some craft tape or masking tape, that's the only lifeline there, was able to keep this plant alive all summer until now. Time to take down. So let me get that tape off and show you. You can see some roots there. I find this fascinating. And unfortunately, I am very prone to break into tomato stems. But it is good knowledge to know that you can repair with just a simple fix and still keep your plant going all season. Now, does this work with peppers? I have tried it. Not very well. Not very well at all. So I think I got enough of the paper here off, the paper tape, so you can kind of see the roots. Isn't that amazing? This is just so amazing how things want to live and survive. that they can find a way. And there we go. There is the break that happened a few months ago. And it just was able to get enough nutrition and water to keep it going all summer, which is amazing. I'm so glad that from past years of having mini breaks and taping them up, I knew it would work, and I went ahead and just applied the tape. Otherwise, I would have never got to try this variety, which I actually will grow again. Yeah, all right. Now that we know how this guy healed itself, we can go ahead and cut him down. Just like that. Tomato's gone. Pot is almost ready. I'm going to get some worm casting. I'm going to get some slow release fertilizer that's a little higher than nitrogen because we're growing something that's going to be a heavy feeder, real heavy feeder. Took down the supports and just left the cage. We will need that definitely for our Brussels sprout. The jade bush bean did not do well with my tomatoes this year. I don't know if it's lack of light from when the tomatoes were full with leaves. I am going to leave them in the pot though. Shouldn't hurt anything, and maybe add some nitrogen to the soil. I'm really pleased to see that fairly far down in here, this soil is actually still fairly moist, and we've been really dry the past, I'd say, week and a half. And I haven't been watering this container because, well, I knew I was going to be cutting it out. Yeah, it's still really nice. Not bad at all. Really pleased to see that. So what I'm going to do now, you can see I've went down about 10 inches. I'm going to drop in probably a 1/4 cup of this slow release fertilizer, throw in a couple handfuls of the worm casting or so, backfill, and then we're going to pop in one of these little Brussels. We are not going to bury it deep like we would a tomato. We're just going to bury it, I'm going to say a 1/4 inch deep. We will put about a 1/4 inch of that stem under the soil line. And there we go. He looks so tiny right now, but you know, give it a couple months, he'll be really big and tall. Lots of leaves that we can use for collards, for dehydrating, for green powder. And you can see I did bury slightly deep, but there's like at least an inch above soil level of the stem. Now we're going to water this really well. He got lots and lots, well, like 2 or 3 scoops in the pot of the worm casting. Just one kind of smallish scoop way down low in the pot of the slow release fertilizer. Now for this next tomato, which is Big Daddy. You can see he looks pretty naked at this point, and he is. I trimmed him up severely. My goal with him is just to get these last 5 fruits to maturity, and once they're at full size, even if they're green, I'll go ahead and pick them. So I am going to go ahead and put a Brussels sprout right next to that tomato, and we're going to practice something called relay gardening, where you very temporarily have to grow 2 plants together until you can take one of them out. And that's a situation with suburban gardens, backyard gardens. You know, you got limited space. So we're going to make that work, and I think it'll be okay. Digging the hole for the Brussels, and look what I found. The squirrels have already been scurrying away their food for winter. I'm just going to toss this into the woods. Since I'm working in this area, I'm going to go ahead and take care of the planters that are behind the Brussels, and don't they look great? I'm going to leave those little seedlings that came from just seeds falling from a rotten tomato that had a worm in it. I'm going to trim up all of the pepper leaves, get the soil amended, remove these radishes that I planted too early, it was too hot, and get some new stuff in the ground or the container. This space is looking very vacant, but great. So now we can plant some seeds. I went ahead, cleaned up this pepper, cut back the basil, blue spice basil, cleaned up this pepper, cleaned up the blue spice basil. Everyone got mosquito bits in this area for mosquito control, and worm castings and fertilizer. So now I gotta think, what can I plant here in these deck railing containers? And we're gonna do this, what is it? Purple Lady, bok choy, right here. And then on these containers that have peppers still in them, still growing peppers, I'm gonna plant these little crunch peas. That will be the perfect size to grow up these stalks. And just breakfast radish. So we'll have peas, radishes, peppers will stay until, let's say the very beginning of November. So I'll still get quite a few more peppers. And then we will just do nothing but the bok choy right here in this container. It's a little warm for that. I'm a little nervous. We may have to pull them in a week and reseed if they start to bolt, which could happen here. All right, those containers completely planted, which is great. Now, I know you're thinking, Heather, your first frost date is like, beginning of November. Let's say very, very end of October, first week of November, and you're gonna plant some bush beans that say 55 days to maturity. It's a chance. I want to take it and just see what happens. For some reason, these have not been germinating well in this soil. I'm thinking it's because of all the shade from the leaves of the tomato plants that used to be above. I just want to try and see. And you know what? We might get lucky. We might actually get a flush or a harvest of these before first frost. So it's a nice experiment for me, and I'm going to do it and see what happens. I already have one calendula per container. I started those seeds, can't remember, probably when I put these tomatoes in the ground. Maybe a couple weeks after that. They're real slow growing, but I think now that they're going to get a lot of light with the tomatoes being gone, they'll pick up. And we are going to get these planted. All right, guys, it is time to move to the raised bed area with our remaining 4 Brussels sprouts and get them in the ground. All right, I'm in the raised bed area, and things are looking rough. But these are the same 4 big beefsteak tomatoes that I had on the back deck. The one that did the best in this bed as well as on the deck was Big Daddy. I actually think I may be able to leave him. He's still putting off flowers. And the new growth is really healthy looking. I'm going to trim it up, but all the other, 3 other plants will come out. We'll put our Brussels sprouts and some peas down. So there's a lot more fruit than I thought on Big Daddy. So I just cleaned it up and it's staying. And this one was Granny Cantrell. That came out early. This was pineapple. Did not do well at all. And surprisingly, Whitmore is actually trying to make a comeback. I'm really surprised about this one. So I guess I will clean him up too and go from there. But I still need to get those Brussels sprouts somewhere. It looks pretty crazy, right? I guess I'm going to go with it. Hopefully the Brussels will get enough light. I tried to trim off quite a bit of the leaves. I only left the very, very healthy leaves. And yeah, just going to put some fertilizer in each planting hole and the worm casting, just like we did with our containers, and just kind of spread the Brussels, just 4 in this 4x4 bed. And there we go, they're all tucked in. They have a cage to protect against the rabbit, and the squirrels, are digging currently to bury their nuts and so forth for winter. And this is what we're left with. It's a gangly trying to live tomato, 2 of them, and 4 Brussels sprouts. And I think what I'll do is come back tomorrow with some snow peas, plant around the poles. And that'll be nice to have some snow peas growing with our Brussels. Alright guys, talk to you soon. Bye.